Today I'm going to be watercolour glazing on pale pink. Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper. I've got the statement flowers from Altenew here that I'm going to be sharing a card with you today, but I want to do the colouring on some of this watercolour paper pad cardstock. It's massive. Look, it's 9 by 12 inches, so it's even bigger than a normal A4 card sheet. It's a really white cardstock. This is me holding it here up against some Nina, and you can see just how white it is for a watercolour cardstock. It's 100% cotton cold press, so it does have quite a smooth surface, pretty much on both sides. One has a little bit of texture, but have you seen this? It's the new silicone mat from Altenew. Isn't it pretty? I do like it. And it's really nice to stamp on, so I thought I'd give it a try today because I've been using the other silicone mat from them, but this one, I think it's a bit larger as well. And it protects my work surface. I can use my heat tool on it. It's no drama. Alright, so I have the statement flowers. It's a bouquet of flowers. It's bigger than my block, but I only really want to use this 1.5 flowers from the image anyway, so I went with it. I kind of wanted to do some no line-ish watercolouring, and I decided to stamp my images out with the limestone. Now this is a dye ink, so it's not made for watercolours, so I didn't really know how it was going to go. And you'll be able to see some areas when you have a look at the card where it didn't hold up so well, but overall I was really impressed how the ink went with the water on top of it. Like it didn't actually, I didn't lose the lines too much. I was very impressed actually. So now it's time to paint. I'm using a wet on wet technique, and what I'm doing is adding some clean clear water to a petal at a time. I'm choosing petals that aren't touching each other, and then I'm picking up my paint from my palette and dropping it onto those petals. So the first layer is almost like adding a layer of underpainting, so it's going to give a layer of colour, but I don't worry too much about dimension at this point because I'm going to be able to add that as I add the layers of paint on top of the watercolour, which is basically what glazing is. So you need to wait for each layer to dry, then you can add more on top, wait for that to dry, add more on top. I'm learning this, and what I'm finding is I wanted to challenge myself and try and do lots of layers but end up with a really pale result, like the pale pink. For me, it's easy to do bold, solid colours and add layers and, you know, make it more bold, more, and add more depth. But when it comes to pale or pastel colours, I think it would be really easy for me to go overboard and end up with too much depth. But then I didn't want to end up with not enough and have no dimension in my flower. Because of the no line look, I knew I did need to add a few extra layers here to give the flower some dimension, and I started by doing that and adding more of the same colour that I'd added in the underpainting, and then went and worked on a different area while they dried, or on a different flower. So I'm not adding a lot of water on my second layer, so it really isn't taking very long to dry. The leaves, I did the same way. I actually added like a base colour, and then I came in with a second colour green and added some depth with that. And then while that was drying, what I decided to do was come in with some of the fall harvest colour here on the actual petals on the flowers, because I just think that that added a little bit of extra something. You know those really old vintage roses, how they have that little bit of brown on some of the petals? I probably could have done this a little bit more to make it more realistic, but I wasn't game. at the time. And on the leaves, once they dried, I came in with some browns. And just because I had that mixed up with the green, I actually used that to add some shading to my flowers as well. Now I did decide to add some splatters today. I just used the paints that I had left over on the palette, some of the greens, and also I mixed up one of the pinks. I didn't want it to be that real bold, bright cherry blossom pink, so I had some of the white there and I used that to just keep it light. I wanted this to be a really sort of almost like a pale background on my card for this bold sentiment. So I cut my card panel down, or the cardstock down, to the same size as my card front, and then I'm stamping out the word hello, and what does it say? You amazing creature. From the Simply the Best stamp set with some obsidian ink, and pop that on the front of my card with some of the new sequins that have been released today as well from Altenew. These are the matte, the satin white ones. They're really pretty. I have got more cards at my blog to share, another card at my blog, and also the link to everyone else that's hopping along to celebrate the release today. So head through the description link below to find that out, and also find out the details of all the products that I've used here. They'll be linked as well. Click on the thumbs up button if you had a fun time here today, and subscribe if you haven't already. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.